Good evening, you're watching Daily News Drops. Tonight, the United States is staring down the barrel of a potential government shutdown, the Pentagon is under fire for clamping down on journalists, American warplanes are striking Venezuelan vessels in contested waters, and across the globe, people are taking to the streets demanding change. We bring you the full picture with deep dives into what these stories mean for America and the world. In Washington, the budget clock is ticking. Congress has until the end of September to pass a funding bill, or the U.S. government could shut down. Democrats are pushing hard to include healthcare provisions like Affordable Care Act subsidies and Medicaid funding in the short-term bill. Republicans, however, accuse them of trying to load a stopgap funding measure with long-term policy changes. If lawmakers don't compromise, millions of Americans will feel the consequences. National parks could close, thousands of federal workers could be furloughed, and critical research and health programs could stall. While essential services like the military and air traffic control will keep running, they will do so under strain. The stakes are real, not just political. For families relying on ACA subsidies or NIH programs, these negotiations are about survival, not strategy. Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have demanded a face-to-face meeting with President Trump, warning that his refusal to engage directly risks a shutdown that will land squarely on his administration's record. Republicans counter that Democrats are holding the government hostage by tying healthcare fights to the budget. Both sides are betting that public opinion will break in their favor, but ordinary Americans are the ones caught in the middle. Past shutdowns have shown us the human toll: paychecks delayed, programs suspended, and trust in government eroded. This time could be even worse, with healthcare in the crossfire. As the funding standoff plays out, another story out of Washington is raising alarms about democracy itself. The Pentagon has quietly rolled out new rules requiring journalists to sign a pledge not to gather or report on unapproved information from inside the building. That includes some material that is not even classified. The policy also limits where journalists can go within the Pentagon, and puts a single official in charge of approving what can and cannot be reported. Officials say the changes are about protecting security and controlling misinformation. But critics see something far more dangerous: a government using national security as an excuse to silence scrutiny. First Amendment advocates argue this is a clear violation of press freedom, a move that could hide misconduct and weaken accountability. If journalists can only report what officials allow, then the watchdog role of the media is reduced to a lapdog role, and that should concern every American who believes in democracy. Meanwhile, U.S. military action abroad is stirring new controversy. Earlier this month, American aircraft struck Venezuelan-linked vessels in the Caribbean, claiming they were part of a drug trafficking network tied to the gang Tren de Aragua. At least 14 people have been killed in these strikes over the past 3 weeks. The Pentagon insists the vessels were legitimate targets, but Venezuela's government says this is an outrageous violation of its sovereignty and an act of aggression. President Nicolas Maduro is rallying support at home, declaring Venezuela ready to defend its waters. International observers are asking whether these strikes violate beyond America's borders. Turmoil is spreading. In the Philippines, tens of thousands are preparing to flood the streets for what activists are calling the Trillion Peso March, a massive protest against corruption, economic inequality, and government inaction. The demonstrations are timed to mark the anniversary of martial law under Ferdinand Marcos, drawing sharp historical parallels and stoking fears of unrest. In The Hague, anti-immigration protests erupted violently as tensions flare in Europe over asylum policy and border security. Serbia, meanwhile, staged a show of force with a sweeping military parade, signaling strength as Balkan tensions simmer. And in Afghanistan, there was a rare note of relief: the Taliban released a British couple held captive for 8 months. Their return to the United Kingdom has been described as miraculous by family members who feared they would never come home. In China, dissent continues to be punished. A doctor who was among the early whistleblowers during the COVID-19 outbreak has been handed another prison sentence, underscoring Beijing's determination to suppress voices of criticism, even years later. For human rights advocates, this case is yet another reminder that those who speak out against the state still pay a heavy price. Taken together, these stories show a world where governments are tightening control at home and flexing power abroad, while ordinary citizens are left fighting for transparency, fairness, and basic freedoms. In the U.S., the threat of a shutdown and restrictions on press access reveal a government at odds with itself and its people. Overseas, strikes, protests, and crackdowns highlight a global struggle over who holds power, and how far they will go to keep it. That's the news this evening. From Washington to Caracas, from Manila to Beijing, the stakes are high and the consequences far-reaching. The questions for all of us remain the same: who decides what truth we get to hear, And who pays the price when leaders fail to compromise? Stay tuned, stay informed, and stay critical, because tomorrow's headlines will be shaped by the choices being made today. This is Daily News Drops. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that matter most.